SoulogyOneStudios with a little quick meditation Soulogy style. Got a little something to say about the ascension. I made a decision. I'm bringing my own resurrection. It's my own ass I'm saving. No one gonna do for you what you can do for you. To thine own self be true. We're just bringing what we're feeling here at SoulogyOneStudios. No one ain't believing, believing ain't to know. Third eye, top of the head, nothing such as being dead. Stop thinking the world gonna butter your bread. Ascendance, spontaneity. Forget the spit and polish, time ain't a wannabe. Balling hard for individuality. May you think, question, ask. What are the sun, sin and sun? Take off the mask, seated, vibrating, sharing, creating, talking one soul nation. Show me another place, we got that. Show me another explanation, covering every story and station. No deviating, we celebrating, creating, demonstrating truth beyond the lies. Time's up in the universe, come on down the aisle. Let your heart, mind, spirit fly. Shake your ass, Soulogy style. We ain't got all the answers, looking past human pride. Soul is bona fide, tripping me up, but I'm tried and true. Got the 40-40 low and high. Infinity sign, double the deuces, what you think? Hang 10, hang 5. Act like gods are pursuing us. Angel dust, those we trust. I know I done had enough. Money pie in the sky, do or die. How can I arrive? Shackled till I come inside. Found the essence of me. Twisted up who I wanna be. Spaceless time, timeless space, time to face. Grace come to trace. Lifelong destiny, I'm just rolling. Share this space with me. Wheels be spinning, world got no hold on me. Can't you see it's what it be? Light as life done found it. Burning up, way down inside of me. Brave in the heart, soul hurting no one. Be what you wanna be. Stone cold, soul on ice, no more sacrifice. Thunder and lightning, big pun gave up the advice. Time to bring up the ghetto guard. We got the light and dark living inside of us. Find the best of us, leave the rest of us. Bring it all down till nothing's left of us but what you came into the world with. The only savior is the savior we are to ourselves. Loving ain't easy, but we owe it to each other. Wishing you peace, power, protection, big love, healing. Cause it's all the same thing. Freedom, love, trust, truth, spirit. In the mighty, mighty soul. One. Hang on, let me pull Miguel up. Technical difficulty. I don't see Miguel. 1 second, people. 1 second. Let me see what's going on with Miguel. Okay. Let me see this again. Paste. There we go. All right. Well. All right. I don't see Miguel in here. So, but I know he's coming. Hello, everybody. What's going on? Angel dust. I changed the lyrics on that to Angels Trust. But when I made it, it was Angel Dust. Well, here he is. I think this is him. Let's see. Yeah. All right. All right. Okay. Let's pull in Miguel. Have us a good show. See what he's been up to. All right, let's see. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Todd.
What's up? What's up? What's going on? What's happening? Got a pretty good little crowd in here. I was going to give you a hard time from the beginning, but I'm not. I'm going to behave myself today.
Don't give me a hard time. Be
I'm
nice.
not. I love that. I love that tapestry over your left shoulder. Wow.
Yeah, that's my tree of life. It's got the
dude. That looks a lot like the Soulogy thing that Ryan Aguilar did. Hang on, I'll show you. Hang on a second. Yeah, here we go.
The man, I can't see which one's which, but the man and the woman in the tree.
Yeah. I'm going to show you. Let me show you this. Check this out.
Let's see if I can keep it.
You see that? Can you see that on the screen?
Yeah. The Heros Gamos.
Well, this came from when Soulogy came to Morgan and I 2 summers ago, or last summer.
Yeah.
So it was like this golden tree, kind of a tree of life thing. But then you had the Vesica Pisces, and I don't know. Anyway, we conveyed that to our brother Ryan Aguilar, who does sacred geometry. But looking at that tapestry, it reminds me of it. That's pretty cool. Very cool.
And a Celtic version of the same thing, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of Celtic frequency and downloads from watching Outlander. Outlander, have you heard of that? It's on Stars or Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, and I tried a few episodes of it at one stage, but it wasn't really doing it for me. I think you've got to be really into, what's his name, the bloke?
Oh, I don't know who he is. No, oh wait, I'm talking Outlander. Yeah, it's a series. It's a series.
Outlander. Yeah. But all the girls.
Oh yeah. I saw a video of him the other day. He's about 5'6". I'm kidding. No, it's a great show. We use it to integrate. So, man, I noticed you've been real active. I mean, we're not real professional here. Obviously we love having you on. We love your raw authenticity. And yeah, man, I've seen you've been out there a lot. Yeah, I think it started the last time we talked. You had just met like a publicist. You had some divine feminine energy coming into your life, more than just one person. And one of them was like a publicist or manager or something. And you said you were about to kick it up. And I've been seeing you. You've been very active. I know you got. I saw you had a series in Elephant Journal. You got a book out. You've been at some conferences. I mean, what's been going on with you before we get into the other stuff?
Yeah. Because where are we now? August. So June, July. Yeah. So I will have met you just when this was all kicking off. The book. So the launch was the 21st of June. Yeah. So my publisher from Sacred Stories, Patricia, who is, as I call, a bit like a shit hot business coach.
Shit hot, yeah. Shift hot.
Yeah, and she is. She's been. It's not quite. Yeah, I'll use it. It's not quite the right word, but she's been cracking the whip a little bit and motivating me and pushing me out of encouraging me out of my comfort zone, creating podcasts and doing stuff, and loads of interviews. Loads of interviews and just book promotion. Really, that this book's really important to me, and it's the voice of the sacred masculine. It's about the power of the divine feminine. It's the other way. Something happened at the Goddess Conference, which I'll tell you a wee bit about, I'm sure, but it's this realization that the story of Sleeping Beauty, where the prince kisses the Sleeping Beauty, the princess, and wakes her up, that's a twist of patriarchy, and it's the other way around. And I was starting to feel this. It could, if all the conversations that I've had with you and I hear you talking, it's the divine feminine that kind of woke up first.
Yeah.
She's going, look, I'm kind of on my own here. Okay, I better kiss the prince. And of course, that was so much kind of like what happened, in my story and that I recorded in the book. But it's what's happening on a big level, isn't it? It's happening on a really big level. And when I was at the Goddess Conference, I had all this fear coming up about doing my talk. It was really weird. It was like, what's going on, Miguel? What is all this about? The first 2 days of the conference, I didn't really settle in because I was just, oh God, I've got this talk to do. And the day before the talk, I was in this workshop with this lovely lady, Annabelle de Boulay. I'll put her website in the, because I said I would reference her when I mentioned this, but she was the one who talked about that the origins of the Sleeping Beauty story come from a Babylonian myth where Tammuz, and I think it was his lover Inanna, where he gets some, I think it's a boar's tusk or something, and it puts him to sleep, and he goes into the underworld, and she goes down into the underworld and rescues him and kisses him and brings him back to life and brings him back. And it was like, wow, when I heard that, it was just, all the fear and everything just fell away. And it was like, Miguel, you're living a myth here. This is real. Because all this stuff was going on for me. Who are you to be talking about your book and talking about the sacred masculine and union of the masculine and feminine? And when I heard this, everything just kind of shattered, all the little ego stuff. And it was like, this is a big story, and this is really happening. This is humanity's story, and it's recorded in this myth, and it's kind of come round, and it's happening again.
Yeah.
So that was really big, Todd, like, you know what I mean? That was a real big, because it just popped into my awareness a few weeks before of, now the Sleeping Beauty story, it's like what's going on is the other way around. And then this Annabelle was saying, you know, it just got twisted by patriarchy.
It is the other way around. I remember getting a channel, which I don't know, whatever you call it, a download, and I don't get those like really specific ones, but I remember getting one about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and it was basically like a creation story. And I don't know what this means, but it fits with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so it was like, okay, so the one was the womb, right? Like it was basically, you know, for all intents and purposes, a feminine energy. Mm-hmm. And so that feminine energy, when it wanted to go out and see and experience or grow or expand or whatever, created the polar opposite, the masculine. And then the story went on, and like in this instance, created this realm where he forgot her and you know, essentially became greater than that which created him. And so she took on the holy darkness because she knew the only way she could bring him back would be to take him down to the depths, to the abyss. And therefore, when you said that about the underworld, I was like, well, you know, no matter where you are in the ethers, you're always cradled in the arms of Mother Universe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the reverse Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so what does that mean? This is where I'm at. Now I know why we're talking today. So what does that mean to you and me, and to primarily, you know, because primarily the energetic gender fits the physical gender, not always, and we know that, okay? And we know that we all got feminine and masculine, but we're coming out of this transition where the illusion is that I'm totally masculine, or you're totally masculine, or whatever the case is. But anyway, what does that mean as we become and expand our awareness? How does that affect us? And specifically, okay, if you want to go into this, you know, I'll go with you. Is sexuality, is conventional or 3D sex versus sacred sex. Mm-hmm. You know, like that to me has been huge, a huge tug of war, you know, over the last 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know if you've got any, and if you want to start with any of that or go to something else, I'm cool either way.
The thing that's kind of in my coming into my awareness while you're speaking is that there seems to be this, this real, it's kind of like paradoxical dance of the masculine feminine energy that is being asked of me. What I'm seeing is to perhaps the best word I can find is to deepen the soft strength.
Yeah.
So, you know, and on one level, I'm being asked, kind of like the more masculine energy is encouraging me to step up and speak my truth more and speak clearly and stop playing small and really come into my, you know, into my masculine power, in that authentic sovereignty. And at the same time, there is this, this recurring theme of get soft, be gentle, stop being so hard on yourself, stop being so judgmental of other people. And, you know, so they're they're not contradictory at all, but there's a kind of like, you know, you go a little bit with this way, and you feel like you're really getting up there a little bit. Then it's like, so life's kind of saying, yeah, that's great, but now soften,
Yeah.
now soften, you know, and then it's like, we focus on the softening. That's going, no, don't get too soft. Speak your truth, you know, and step up, like, you know. It's that's what seems to be going an awful lot for me. Can you relate to that, Todd?
Yes. Yes, I can. Yeah. And yeah, because through my relationship, which is a physical representation, it seems, of that paradoxical dance, it's really been interesting. You know, where of course, obviously the feminine energy was suppressed, the masculine energy was given too much power, or whatever you want to call that, had too much power, or was a little more powerful. And so I went through this whole thing, and I remember, because we've talked about this, you and I have talked about this. I don't have the perfect memory, but I remember being in Houston 2 summers ago, or last summer, and I had this come to Jesus meeting with the Mother Goddess, and I mean, I just buckled. I mean, I did a video, a live. I was at the end of my rope, you know. I was just a month away from, or a month past having been married in divine conscious union with Morgan. I mean, but my point is I had to get a point where basically, and you know, this is Soulogy, I was castrated, demasculated. I had nothing, you know, and I literally told the Mother Goddess, take it all, take everything, take my manhood, take it all. And, you know, be careful what you ask for, right? And so, yeah. And so then I think over, God, I can't remember right now, but I would say first week of July, I went through about a 4 or 5 day period, the biggest shift I ever had. It was all about the masculine. I was pretty much in solitude, even though Morgan and I were obviously living together, pretty much in solitude for 4 or 5 days. And something started then, and then it actually kind of culminated in the last 3 or 4 days. And it was tied to the false sexual power, which is just a copy of the entire false masculine power. It was tied to the strength of being soft. It was tied to a very powerful. Well, I'll tell you what happened was I started getting this dragon thing coming in about 4 or 5 days ago. As this thing was culminating, and something happened. I remember it was late at night. I told Morgan I got to go for a walk, and I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew that it was masculine. And I knew it was there. Like I told Morgan the next day, I said, it feels like that Kali goddess energy, but it's masculine. Like it loves me, but it's coming in to rip my heart out or do whatever it's got to do to get this stuff done. And then eventually 2 or 3 days go by, and I don't want to go into all the details, but 2 or 3 days go by, and I was laying on the bed, and this blue dragon came in. And of course, it's an energy. It's just the way I'm receiving it. And basically said, you know, the jig is up. We're done. Stick a fork in your ass. The false masculine's gone now. And I watched him pull this. It looked like a fishing hook with what they call a treble hook, where it's got the 3 hooks on it. Mm-hmm. But it was like 3, 3, 3, 3. There was like, you know, maybe 20 of them, and pulled it out of my root. And then I watched him go up into my root, into my chakras. It was really trippy. But to me, it was like a really big deal. And I wanted to write about it. I wanted to talk about it. I haven't been able to, because it is so tied to the sexual intimacy. Therefore, it's tied to the performance, 3D, masculine power over type of sexual energy, but also tied to, or the door to, what is really the soft but more powerful sacred sexual intimacy. It's tied to that, and somewhere in the human hybrid Todd psyche, there was a bloodbath, and I think that's what you're talking about, you know. But that softness has an incredible power, and it seems to be, I don't know about you, but it seems to be coming in little bits at a time, just little bits, because like, they say, like if the ETs show themselves to you, or if an entity shows itself to you too quickly, or you receive downloads too quickly, it'll fry your brain. That's what I'm kind of getting. It's a very soft, gentle coming home, a lot like the divine feminine frequency, except for it's very masculine, and it's so far away from anything I had conceptually in my mind. If somebody had asked me, that I've given up trying to understand, and I'm just kind of sitting here basically trying to integrate with it moment by moment.
Yeah. Never a dull moment, hey?
No. And I could tell you war stories. But I think the main thing, and I'm not really sure how to say this, but physical intimacy is probably the highest form of physical representation of, Morgan and I have had herioscomas more than once in the physical, and it was extraordinary. And you would think once you get there, it's done, but I still had stuff to remove. But I think that it's such a delicate union and a delicate representation of what has been and always will be. But we're in this very dense realm, and it's just a very sacred ground, and the potential of creation and the potential of expansion and clearing is out of the universe when within ourselves or with somebody else, we can actually bring that softness into that sacred sexual vibration from the masculine perspective. I'm speaking from the masculine perspective, but it has been a bloodbath. And I know you've gone through some stuff because you've shared it. So did you have your etheric balls cut off, or was it just me? Not etheric one, but for the other ones, the etheric's what grow back.
It's it doesn't sound like it was as quite as dramatic as your experience, but say what I'm noticing is that there's more and more of a sort of softness, and for me, there is less neediness. I mean, it's a couple of hours after this interview, I'm on a call, an interview with a US station called Been There, Done That, Recovery Radio. So it's all about recovery, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And I was kind of thinking, well, what have I recovered for? And what am I doing on this show? And my thing is really what they call attachment disorder. Sort of secure attachment from when we were a kid. If we didn't have a secure attachment with our parents, or then we're always kind of like looking for that secure attachment, and my whole mother wound and all that stuff. But so what I'm finding is that in the bedroom, that for a long time there was still this sense of pleasing woman, so that love wouldn't be withdrawn, and I was kind of being a good boy sort of thing. And that is sort of like
performance.
Performance. And watching that fall away, and watching the neediness, and also that sexual intimacy was very much about connection and closeness. It was like, I suppose, it's that thing of two becoming one. The closest that you can get in the physical form is sex, as it were, so there's natural pull to it, but there is less of that neediness around it. And let's have sex because it's the closest we can get to really feeling connected to just something a lot softer, and the neediness isn't there anymore. It's just
So on one hand, yes, we know that inherently. We knew that we could go to this level of intimacy with a partner, and there was the potential to have even a fleeting moment of a spiritual epiphany, awakening, revelation, expansion, ecstasy. But 99.9% of the time, it basically was an escape. It was and that's why when it was done, you both roll over and just went to bed, basically. You know what I mean? I mean, there was no lasting thing. Like, we've had sacred sexual interludes, and we don't have near the frequency that we did in the old life, but the effects of it last a long, long time. Like, it brings in the thunder, it brings in downloads, channels, transmissions, interaction, interdimensional experiences, each one of those in and of themselves takes time to get over. It's like, you can't even, so far, I mean, I'm new to this. I just got my big toe in the water, and that's it. We're learning. And, but to have, like, say, a full-blown Helios Gamos physical coalescing with the non-physical between two people, even once a week, I think would probably fry our brains, because there's so much that's opened up in both parties. I mean, and this is very new. And as I'm getting it, it's, here's the templates we've been given, whether it be, say, Helios Gamos or Divine Masculine or Divine Feminine or Ascension. Here's the templates we've been given. We've now got to a point now where on all these issues, we have enough awareness. We know this shift is real. Now, what are we going to do with it? So, like, we're actually creating an expanded template for the next wave, or expanded blueprint for the next wave. So, and I've been trying to, and that's why I like talking to you, because I've been trying to, how do you get that down into the nitty-gritty details of the man who's in that bloodbath in his head, who's not even conscious of how deep this stuff goes, and I don't have my arms around it as far as trying to explain it,
Well, the thing that seems to be really key to me, and is very current for me and my partner, is trust. Trust seems to be a massive ingredient in this mix, in this union, in this coming together. And I can see that in the personal of, because of my twins, experiences with the masculine and so on, that she's learning to trust the masculine again. And because of my experiences with the feminine, I'm learning to trust the feminine. And so we're both, it feels like as the trust grows, then there is more potential for us to go deeper in that. But there is still an element of holding back.
Yes. Yes.
And
yeah.
And if we've come in from thinking about that from sort of from the macro level, I mean, that was part of the experience that I had at the Goddess conference, and part of the realize why there was all this fear coming up, because I was going to stand up and speak to 350 women.
Yeah.
Was there is an old element of that Goddess conference that are quite feminist and quite sort of, the Goddess conference was community was created, for the sisters to come together kind of thing, to some degree, because they were pissed off with the patriarchy and pissed off with what they had from man. So there was that was part of what the fear was about for me, and I could really kind of feel that. So there was all that voices in me going, "Who do you think you are?" And there's not very many male speakers, or not very many. But none of the men really were speaking about sacred masculinity or the union of man and woman. It's almost like it's all about goddess worship and honoring the divine feminine, which is great. And I can see how it's come about, because the pendulum's almost like swung the other way, you know what I mean? But there's this thing, there was just such a, walking around the Goddess conference as a I don't know, a full-blooded male, that I like to feel that I am pretty much in my masculinity. I'm not, I heard the expression the other day, I'm not a limp dick yogi.
Well, I think you might have to go through that phase to get to what we're talking about. But no, you bring up some great points. I wrote down some quick notes. All right. So this is really good.
The trust. So the trust I was kind of
That,
feeling,
yeah.
level, you know, the lack of trust and the fear and the what's the word? The yeah, just the not trusting of man. It's like, you know, who is this man kind of thing? He must have some ulterior motives. Surely this can't be coming from a pure heart sort of thing.
Yes. Well, that's been the paradigm. You know,
Yeah.
Chris Rock does that funny routine where he talks about how you know how sex is always on a man's mind. So all day long, a man is asking a woman, does she want to have sex? Here, let me open the door. Do you want to have sex? Would you like to get something to eat? Do you want to have sex? So everything has that agenda.
Yeah.
Now, what you said about, I got 3 points and then go back to you on these because I don't want to lose them because I think these are important. We make this up as we go. It's all spontaneous. Surrender and trust. Now, the intimacy itself is just a core reflection of all the same energy, right? Like the energy you're talking about walking around the conference and you know, you are who you are, but what's coming at you is due to the conditioning that we all were subjected to in the patriarchal, and there's a lack of trust. Let's just put it that way. One of the things that the intimacy follows, or vice versa, or the same, right? In terms of what's occurred, because like you said, the divine feminine landed, the masculine, like this was like 3 or 4 years ago, I remember, and then the masculine was like, okay, what's going on here? All these women are pissed off. And then it started to, you know, people started to come around because the women started to honor themselves and stepped into their power, that feminine frequency, because I really want to take the physical genders out of it. And so then you started to see the masculine incarnations starting to say, you know, I honor the goddess, you know, I honor the divine feminine. And like you said, kind of maybe went through a phase of some type of castration or demasculation in terms of the falsely empowered masculine energy. And then maybe this year start stepping into his power, his being the energetic masculine, right? But what I was getting at is in the example or the core physical manifestation of this energy, of this dance, when you have intimacy, we have found, and I think this is how it goes because it follows what you're saying on the collective scale, that it's all about her in the beginning. Like it's all about putting our money where our mouth is, walking the talk, doing what you just described, what we've all observed over the last 2 or 3 years, and that is the devotion, the expression of pure love, honor, respect, reverence for the feminine. And so it's kind of like all about her, okay? And if you think about it, it makes sense because if there is a quid pro quo, you know, if it's like, okay, I'm going to honor you and please you, and now it's your turn. Well, that's the old paradigm. And that's what got the masculine into trouble in the first place. I'm going to open this door so you'll have sex with me. I'm going to buy you roses so you'll have sex with me. I'm going to do this so you do this to me. Okay. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. Another thing I wanted to point out, because a lot of times we equate things on a physical level, but I can tell you from, you know, 8, 10 episodes of sacred sex over the last 6 months or whatever it's been, 4 or 5 months, I don't remember. I've had multiple orgasms multiple times, okay? Like for periods of 30 minutes, 45 minutes that are physical integrating with the non-physical or the chakras or the etheric, whatever you want to call it. And then the last thing I wanted to say that you brought up, because you really brought up some great stuff, that whole thing that you said about walking around the goddess conference. And then the thing also about the masculine energy and the feminine energy, and how we've really had no choice but to see it as you're a man, that's a woman, you know, for the most part. But one of the things that I've really noticed, it's really interesting when you were talking about the softening. We've had cycles of projection in the lightworker communities over the last few months. And we've all seen it, right? And they got really loud here. It's gotten louder and louder as we moved into 2019. And what I've noticed is some really wounded masculine projections coming from men and women. Yeah. And also to see the transformation of the softening of that aspect within the man or the woman, because more and more people are doing things boldly and publicly. So that's been an interesting thing for me to see. And I think that's also helped me to allow my acknowledgement, recognition, and therefore empowerment of my own feminine in myself to see the polar opposite happening.
Yeah. And you know, the majority of the kind of masculine energy that's, kind of encouraging, is it stronger than encouraging? Yeah, no, it's encouraging. It's coaxing. It's pushing sometimes. It's coming through woman. It's not coming from men at all. And I'm actually, perhaps this is a generalization, but yeah, it is a generalization. But I'm increasingly aware of, well, just the question, where's the softness? There seems to be more softness in some of the men than there is in women. You know, the masculine energy seems to be coming through stronger. And I guess, you know, there's been this overcompensation kind of thing, and this whole thing of, you know, the woman has had to be the man and the woman kind of thing, because the man's just been, fuck knows where man's been, like, you know what I mean? But, you know, he's just been out of the picture almost. So there's certainly, that's something else that I've been noticing, you know, and it's like, so that softness thing is, that's not coming from, that's just coming, maybe that's, I would say that's coming from me walking the land more, like, you know, it's not coming through a human, you know, human inspiration or human vehicle sort of thing, like, you know, that information and that pushing us. The softness, it's like it's just not there in man or woman, really, like, you know, it's coming from a cosmic level kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's really weird too, okay, because I'm going to go deeper now, my own personal stuff, because everything plays out in the physical, you know, and so my physical body has done all these things for years and years and years, right? But there was a certain tape that went off, like push the button, push play, and I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, my body does this, da, 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 da. As I went through this metamorphosis, as I lost my physical balls and my manhood and everything, and was like, okay, what do I do now? There was a return to innocence. And I don't mean like a cliche either. I'm talking about a genuine, you can't bullshit the universe innocence. And this has been occurring for off and on for a few months, but it's becoming more and more frequent. And that's when these innocent moments, either with myself or with my partner, and it could be just holding hands or a kiss or a hug, or it could be something else, I get these physical sensations and happenings in my body, okay, that are absolutely irrefutable of just purity. And I haven't even gotten close to where it's going, because I think it would actually blow me up, and I'd probably, like, you know, spontaneously combust and join all of our brothers and sisters up in the heavens, right? I mean, but I feel it. And what's amazing to me is how it's having these physical, the evidence is in the physical. And nobody can teach me that. Nobody can show me that. Nobody. It's like me and the universe, me and my higher self, you know, and some of what this took very recently for me was to literally, you know, and I think we can all relate to this. You're full of love. You want to please, you want to, express as much love as you can through your physical body in whatever capacity, and it's just not the same thing, and it's just not enough. It's performance even when you don't think it's performance, you know? It's still that old program playing, and I don't know how to tell anyone how to get there. I'm not even sure where I'm at on the path, but I know I've made some headway. But one thing I will say is I don't know how anyone could go there without some level of celibacy or abstinence, even if the relationship has already had physical intimacy. I think they're a timeout. You know, I heard a long time ago, 8 years ago, when I had my own wake up, was you can't do anything the way you used to do it. And if you think about it, I mean, how many times did you hear pre-2012, we're going to have abstinence in our marriage for a while. We're going to be celibate for a while. But that type of reset has got virtually unlimited potential. And if we've tried everything else and it hasn't worked, why not try that? But I don't know. That's the only thing that I can pull from my experience. I'm so grateful that I was celibate before I met Morgan, and she was too. And I'm so grateful that we remain abstinent, you know, and still have periods, you know, and there's, I don't have the formula, but there's something to not going and hitting the sack and trying to find that place, which is always fleeting and momentary, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah, you know, all our experiences are unique, aren't they? And that's the whole interesting thing, that there is no one formula, you know, what works for you and Morgan. Yeah. Necessarily the same formula for it's because everything is divinely orchestrated, and the whole kind of like twin flame thing, you know, two people come together that are perfectly matched to facilitate the rising to the surface of everything that is not love within them, and the transformation of that. And I guess in every relationship, in every conscious relationship, then the formula is going to be different, isn't it? You know, what's needed is different for each pair. Yeah. I'm only saying that because I'm just fucking hoping that I don't have to do this celibacy thing, Todd.
Yeah, well, see, there's that program, you know. And, you know, it's funny, I've talked to some men, right? Like some men have just through my work and through interactions. And in fact, I can think of the last two. And they basically said, we're going to do this, but I can do this. It's just going to be for a few weeks or, you know, so they're already throwing these absolutes down. If we're resisting it, period, it doesn't matter what we're talking about here. But I really do believe that this sacred sexual vibrational power and everything is a core crossroads, or a core point of major impetus in our expansion collectively and individually, that if we have any resistance to that, I mean, I absolutely pulled my hair out from time to time, and it was off the table. Now, this wasn't a, hey, we're not going to do this kind of thing, and I don't want to get too deep because this is about me and Morgan, but it's really about me and it's about you, and I'm trying to find a place where we can both be, and maybe the masculine can gain from it through a spontaneous conversation, and actually the feminine. And that is that, take it off the table. If there's anything in our experience or in our life that we can't take off the table, even if it's your partner or whatever it is, you got some work to do. That's the way I see it. You know, I like to drink whiskey. I like to, you know, have a little fun. I like to dance. I like to do this, I like to do that, whatever. But if I can't take any of that off the table, I got some work to do, even if I don't understand it, you know. And believe me, I love sex. I had a very, very active and full life up until about 50. I reached heights in the physical that probably few have, but the thing is, I never got there. Oh, you know.
What are you finding? Because it feels to me like, while there's this, I'm being asked to step up and speak my truth and contribute to the collective, there's this other sort of like personal level going on of these kind of undulations and still old programs that are still running. I know it's like I've just become aware of, yeah, that thing is quite on the at the surface for me around pleasing woman, because if I don't, and it's a stepmother wound really, because if I don't please her, the scraps of love that there were, because love was conditional, and if I was a bad boy, then then woman closes down, or you're told off, or you're shamed, or whatever. That stuff is kind of like really, in my awareness at the moment, and me, having that fine line of discernment of when to be totally compassionate and listen and let it go, and other times with women to say, whoa, no, hold on, I need to speak my truth here, even if it means that you withdraw love from me for a little while, you get a bit emotional or you get a bit upset. So there's that kind of like dance and that layer of sort of personal, clearing, which I can see is from, a kind of history. And I was talking with this guy the other day, and he said it's quite possible that there's some past life stuff around the sort of savior, the crusader, and all this stuff was coming up about, do you think that you're personally responsible for all the shit that has happened to woman, and that you are to blame, and that you are carrying shame around what patriarchy has done for woman, and all this stuff was coming up. So there's all this kind of like personal layer, as well as the kind of like more cosmic stuff, and the stuff around the sexuality, because I guess in a way that brings it back to just this basic thing of trusting, that myself and my partner are still learning to trust and totally just relax and surrender into the togetherness.
Yeah.
And until that happens, it doesn't feel as if that we're gonna, that there are I know there are infinite levels, to be explored, and that we're still operating at a fraction of our potential as divine beings. But it still feels, and it's like both things going on at the same time. So we're doing this clearing on the personal level, and this old history and wounds and stuff healing, and then there's this other more cosmic dance taking place as well. Are you finding that do you feel stuff that comes up for you or with you and Morgan that is still around some old patterns and the little boy and all that sort of stuff?
I think, at that level, and I wouldn't normally say something like this, we've gone through a lot. We work hard. And it's not always been easy. We've learned to stay even keeled, even when we're not aligned. We've learned it's okay not to be in alignment. We've learned a lot of things. Yes, they were much of the interference or the imbalances or the projection or occurrences were rooted in the masculine wound. I got to a point a couple of months ago, maybe over the last 3 or 4 months, where I started to realize, like, let's say something happened and I'm going for a walk, and I start going walking, and I start thinking about what we're talking about. Okay, is it her or is it me? Right? Now, however you want to dress that up, but that's really what it is. Is it her or is it me? And I would be walking around and I'd start thinking, I wonder what she's thinking. I wonder what she's doing. And then all of a sudden it came in. I was just telling this a couple of days ago, because this couldn't have happened. I think this actually happened the 1st of July. And the voice came in and said, it's none of your business. What's happening with you? So I started to learn something, and I got to tell you, she's been telling me this for a long, long time. Just change it here. And there's a difference between telling it and really getting it, but if I correct and balance here, everything else is going to match me. and certainly my closest mirror. So then the whole idea of who's right, who's wrong, which is just a mental mind fuck anyway, goes out the window. It goes out the window. But one of the things that I think, one of the things, it's great to have it in yourself or in your relationship with another person. It's great because you've got this big mirror and it's very loud and all that. And not to be focused on, say, the global or that type of thing. But there is another side to it. Because when I look at the global, and I'm not talking about necessarily politics and religion and the same old shit. I'm talking about us, the 99.9%, how we're functioning, what our arena looks like. You really start to see how deep this stuff goes, how deep it goes. And I'll give you an example. I'm not throwing rocks at anybody and I'm not making any judgments. I'm just trying to lay something on the table of how deep this goes. So it's when we got over here, so we've been invited to a couple of conferences, retreats and stuff like that, right? Well, 10 minutes down the road where we're at right now, there's a huge conference going on. And it's something disclosure. It's David Wilcock, Corey Good. There's a lot of people speaking. 700 people are going. I've seen people doing lives from there. Sandra Walters speaking there. There's quite a few people speaking there. And we're doing a couple other ones. We're actually involved in a couple other ones, which I won't mention right now. But what I noticed was, I used to follow a lot of these people that are at this disclosure one, right? And I used to keep tabs on the whole conspiracy thing and breakaway civilization and the secret space program and all that stuff, right? And then I started to move away from it, and it correlated with my softening. That's the only way I can put it, all right? So if I look at this disclosure conference, and I look at the framework of it, it's very masculine. Mm-hmm. It's very, very masculine. How the hell can we have 80% of the energy of the gender incarnation in these light worker circles for the last few years be women, but 80–90% of what's being produced are men? Okay, now it's starting to change, and you're starting to see some throat chakras expanding with the women. But if you look at the other conferences that we've been privy to, they're more feminine, like the one you went to, okay, the Goddess Conference. And I'm not saying that too much of one is better than, you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is this stuff goes really, really deep. It goes deep, way deeper than culture, you know? This goes really, really deep, so it really affects us. No different than you talking about, you're walking around a Goddess Conference and you're one of the few men there. Well, think about the impact of all that energy on you. Of course, it's gonna be like an avalanche on you. And not only is it going to feed your, let's just put the light part of you, but it's also going to throw some light on and throw some serious shadow on you too. Which, what do we do when that happens? I mean, so these are great opportunities and everything. But I'm just trying to make the point. And that's another thing that's come to light over the last few weeks, where I've seen feminine incarnations with masculine wounds projecting. And what I've noticed is, and of course, many men, because that's typically who does it. But what I'm saying to myself is that everybody's got it. The patriarchal affected everybody, and it went very, very, very deep, to include what you were describing about the stepmother complex a minute ago. To include, if I don't do this right, I don't get this. Mm-hmm. If I don't do that, but where do you think that came from? It didn't come from the matriarchal, it came from the patriarchal, because the patriarchal is the one that set it up. You do a good job, we'll pay you this. You get on the conveyor belt, the corporate ladder, we'll give you a retirement. You know, you come to church and go to confession on Sunday and you get to heaven. That's all patriarchal, you know? So it really runs deep, you know? Go ahead. Thank you.
I guess, yeah, it's kind of like a move from conditional love to unconditional love, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess if you're saying that that what you're really noticing the masculine wounding and projection, then I guess in a way, maybe we can say that that's a good thing because it's up. And you know, and when the wounds come to the surface, that's when the healing happens, isn't it? So we start hearing them, we start seeing them, we start watching it being acted out more. But I guess it's that, you know, when we see that and it's up and we're coming from a conscious place, then we can transform it and then we can do something about it. Because although the feminine stuff has been suppressed,
Yeah.
I guess there's, you know, there's this, again, sort of paradoxical, the feminine energy isn't going to be able to arise in its purity if there's still a load of distorted masculine, you know, it's not just that they've both got to come level.
Yeah.
It's just that we need to transform the shadow aspects of both of them as well. And there's plenty of shadow feminine as well, isn't there? I know, again, from the conference, you know, it was saying, you know, the whole thing, somebody was saying to me, you know, that with the Inquisition and the burning of the witches and stuff, that was one of a really big time when sisters were forced to grass each other up and say, oh, she's a witch, like, you know, and otherwise they were going to get punished themselves or their children taken away and so on. So there's that real, you know, disharmony within the feminine as well, like, you know, where there's a mistrust.
Sure there is.
The whole competition and you're better looking than me and this thing of, you know, certain, my partner is an attractive woman. So, you know, certain women just kind of like, she says that she just gets this vibe off them because she's an attractive woman that they just take a dislike to her straight away kind of thing. And all this, which is the kind of like masculine competition stuff that is, you know, infiltrated all that as well. So it's kind of messy, huh?
Well, no, but I think we're getting somewhere, you know, and I think that, okay, so if you look at two things, one, look at, not, again, this is general. We know it's general. We know physicality mostly follows, you know what I mean? Some people are one gender born in the other gender physically.
Yep.
So if you look at women in general, they're much more self-conscious about how they look, right? Hey, does my hair look okay? You know, and you know what I mean? On the other hand, if you look at men, and not just men either, by the way, we're talking energy, frequency. The whole thing about, well, I used to do this and I had this job and I made this much money and my you know, my Johnson is this big, my bank account is this big, or you know, all of this. So the way I see it is the patriarchal, because there's no one to blame. No, this is the last stand of separation, really, when we get this part right. And I'm not talking androgyny, I'm talking about pure 100% alignment and empathy. But if you look at it, the patriarchal, whatever you want to call it, realm system, interference, created the same burden. I don't give a damn which gender you are. Now, if you look at insecurity, because it created doubt and insecurity. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. So you have one gender that for the most part is a quiet insecurity, right? The feminine. You know, I'm going to go ahead and just keep my mouth shut. You know, I'm not going to say anything. And on the other side, you have this arrogant insecurity, because if you look at insecurity in the dictionary, you're going to see one form of it is arrogance. It's a deep-rooted insecurity. So that's pretty much the masculine proposition, and the feminine is, I'm going to be a little bit more quiet, but it's the same damn thing. Okay. Now, I just saw a comic, and I live with a woman, you know, and one of her big tools is to clear polarities. So if I identify myself, or let's say over-identify myself as a man, which is another way to say that is I'm creating further distance to the feminine. That's not me. I'm not like that. That's the polarity. I can clear all I want in myself as all the shadow of the man. But until I clear the other side of it, clear/claim, I'm going to just keep looping back into the same old thing. And that's what I wanted to conclude with, is just that if I'm a man, or you're a man, or any man out there, And as we're over identifying ourselves, and I'm not talking about in our physical, I'm talking about the patterns of a man, the patterns of a woman. This is superficial. But if I deny or separate or keep my distance or divorce myself from any part of what is the feminine experience, because then I'm separation. And the same goes for a woman. A woman, you brought up the feminist type of frequency, where it's almost an anti-man frequency. You know what I mean? But I think the last way I would try to explain that is what I realized about my journey is that I came into this incarnation in, like you, very similar energy. I know your path had to be the same. I was a nice kid. I was like, I was full of light, and I was sensitive. I was soft, I was soft. And I mean, I played sports on it, and so what ended up happening was this this patriarchal, competitive energy started coming at me. And by 6th, 7th grade, I was fighting once a month, and it carried on into my adulthood. And I became that alpha male, which really wasn't my true nature. Now, on the other hand, and so what happened was, as I got through this and I started going through these last couple of years or even a few months, I started to realize and really feel my feminine coming in. In other words, I put down that softness because I was getting my ass kicked or having to kick somebody's ass for it. You know what I mean? And then if you look at the other end of the spectrum, in a woman's journey, because the patriarchal's been in her face, she's developed certain patterns and behaviors and conditions, which mostly have been, just the more quiet type of thing, or they can flip the other way and become full-blown alpha male. They're just in a woman's body, like you were talking about.
Yeah, it's being the nice little girl, isn't it? Like,
Yeah. No, I think this is a great conversation. I really do. I think it's a great conversation, and I think when you get down to, I think that whole thing about the polarities that Morgan talks about, others talk about it. It's like the empath and the narcissist. So what's the difference if we call it an empath and a narcissist? I'm a woman, I call the men narcissists. I'm a man, I call the women narcissists. There's still a narcissist and there's an empath. Or it can be black and white, or day and night, or right and wrong, or whatever you want to call it. But if I only clear one side of this, the side that I identify with, I'm an empath. I'm not a narcissist. I'm an empath. So I'm going to clear that. I'm going to integrate with that. I'm going to accept that. But if I don't do it with the other side of the spectrum, the game's not going to change.
Yeah. And I guess that sort of, where are we? Yeah, because I know we're coming up for time, or we're done for time, but that kind of brings us round full circle to this whole thing when you're saying what's happening for you. What's happening for me is this: I'm being asked to do this soft strength, which is exactly what we're talking about, isn't it? It's that it seems like paradoxical, but it is the sort of the merging of the two and the two becoming one. But when strength was always, you can't say, well, strength can't be soft, or soft can't be strong, like, what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well, we have an advert in this country, Andrex toilet paper. It was always said, like, soft and strong, like, you know what I mean? For why?
Was it like cardboard?
Yeah, it's a bit like that. We're all going to end up as Andrex toilet paper. This soft strength.
That's true. I mean, and just going back to the thing that amazes me is the whole thing with the body. Because I think a lot of people have talked about, my body speaking to me, and I'm not just talking about sexuality, but what to eat. I saw a great post by Jen Reynolds the other day. She said, I used to be a vegan. Then my body said I need to eat protein. So I started eating meat. And now I can't eat meat. And some days my body, she goes, I'm not a vegan. I'm not, she said, I am an intuitive eater. So that's what I'm talking about. The body actually speaking, because to me, the body speaking has a different voice than the higher self. It's really weird, maybe they're all coming together and all that stuff. But the thing that I was getting at in terms of this path of sacred sexuality or clearing the distortion of sexuality. And the flip side of that is expanding into the natural nature of the sacred sexual vibration. My body is speaking to me. My body, even if I want to do something, if it's not pure, it will not do it. Now, obviously I can override things, but it just isn't going to work. And I don't see this as a door slamming saying, oh no, you can't do that. It's not like that. What I'm seeing happening is as is a copy of everything we're doing in the Ascension, the desire to grow. As I'm growing, it's actually coming. It's weird. It's coming in softer, but it's more powerful. It's like saying, "Hey Todd, King's X, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't serve you." And it used to cause a lot of pain, and now I'm like, okay, I get this. You know, I get this. So it's that softness that I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg with that. I really do. That softness. And this isn't just for men. I think this is for the women too. I mean, it's for everybody. You know, and actually, I think that's, you know, what we heard a long time ago, and this is not about Soulogy, but Soulogy is the word to me of the energy that we all have. But it was said that Soulogy is a voice, are the voices of the children of the Mother Goddess. What I always got from that was it was the voice of the suppressed feminine, which has nothing to do with our physical incarnation. So this, I think, is really what this whole Ascension in the Realm is about. What's happening now, people starting to come out, people starting to expand their throat chakra, people starting to speak their truth, be more direct. This is the suppressed feminine frequency in all of us. And it looks one way with women, and it looks one way with men for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where can we find you? What's happening? Where's your latest sacred sexual calendar portfolio? I'm just kidding.
You can find me in the usual places. Check out the website, migueldean.net, Facebook, Miguel Dean Sacred Masculine, and get a copy of the book. I'm promoting my book. This is The Voice of the Sacred Masculine. It's about everything that we've just been talking about. It's about the power of conscious relationships to awaken the sacred masculine, and the power of conscious relationships, all about, us coming back to this divine union. It's going out into the world, and I'm going to keep going on about it until it is. It's kind of like, it's a bit like, Soulogy is your divine child for you and Morgan. The book is our divine child. It's what was birthed from the crazy, beautiful roller coaster ride of our union. And
yeah. Is that right? We should have got into that. Maybe we can do that next time or whenever you're ready. And, we're always open to having as many couples in here as possible, because I think that's, we had Michael James Garber and Ron were on here yesterday, Ron and Nick, and man, they were just raw. They were talking about the last few weeks of all the stuff they've been through, and instruction wise, instruction wise, like, stereotypical teaching wise, there wasn't anything there, but just hearing people's experiences are, to me, that's where we get our biggest activations from.
Yeah, it's so powerful, because we are all living different versions of the same story.
Yeah. This is your website.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. Yeah, that
okay,
is.
So for women and men, you got Sacred Masculine healing sessions. You're still doing the youth mentoring, which we've talked about before. You got interviews and videos, podcasts, blogs, Sacred Masculine. You're now in the Elephant Journal. Everybody?
Yeah.
Little series.
With Elephant Journal, yeah.
And there's the book. Click here to listen to Bring Him Home podcast series. But you had the. Yeah, go ahead.
That's the podcast series, which is 12 episodes, and it's when people were talking about, well, what's the sacred masculine, and I kind of got me thinking, and it's like, well, yeah, how have I arrived in this place, and where did this happen? So I share in that series 12 different principles of the sacred masculine, 12 things that I just kind of like bumped into that I would say, you know, these are things that the paths guiding, you know, for the internal GPS that helped me arrive where I am, really, you know, integrity, honoring the divine feminine, commitment, all this sort of stuff. Like, yeah, just sharing some of my insights and my journey, really, to arrive where I am.
Right on. When you come into the States?
Yeah, I don't know, Todd, is the honest answer to that, but I've got a good feeling that I will be coming. I'm just kind of got things totally sorted, so I don't need to be located. I can do my work from anywhere from a computer now.
Yeah.
I'm actually moving. Yeah, I'm moving out of this place where I am, my man cave. I moved here 2.5 years ago, and I didn't realize at the time when I started renting the place, but it's called Scarsdale. And I said when I arrived, I said, I'll leave that place when my wounds have become scars. And it's like, okay, well, it's time to go now. There was a hell of a lot of healing went on in this man cave. There was a lot of licking my wounds and feeling sorry for myself and sorting stuff out. But now I'm moving in with my beautiful woman. We're moving in together. And so, you know, new beginnings. And yeah, you know,
cool.
I'm getting more and more invitations from different countries saying, when are you coming? Cool. When are you coming? And it's like, once I've sold a few more copies of the book, I can afford the air.
Detach from that, and it'll all come. We do. Yeah. I'm just trying to hold the frequency. That's not the only thing that seems to work. You just try to hold the frequency. If I do this and this comes, I don't know, man. That's a whole nother story. But there's a lot of people out there doing what you're doing, and I mean, taking the leap, having the courage and the faith just to go out and do this crazy, impossible stuff, and you're following the fairy tale. I'm very happy for you. On behalf of the community, I'm very thankful for what you do. I'm very happy for you and your partner, and thankful for her too, because you know, we're looking at you, we're looking at her, even if it doesn't look that way.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Todd. Yeah, thank you.
I look forward to our next collaboration.
Yeah. All right. Lots of love, Todd. Bye for now.
Okay.